If you can only be satisfied with a perfect version of yourself, you'll never be happy.
Hey guys, if you don't know, I am Killua, aka xPrinceKillu from the guild NBK. I stumbled upon a question. What is the perfect guild master? Over the years of managing a guild in Elsword and connecting with people with different personalities and backgrounds, I stumbled upon this question and I was interested in finding an answer. I set out to interview some of the leaders of this game with different backgrounds and different philosophies on this question. For those of you that are new to Elsword, Elsword is a free-to-play Korean MMO that features real-time gameplay with the motto of play your manga and consists of 15 playable characters with different classes so you can find an enjoyable playstyle that fits you. Now that you're caught up in the basics, let's begin the search for the question of what is the perfect guildmaster? I needed to narrow down some topics that I believe would come into play when it comes to being a guildmaster. After a long time of thinking and researching, I managed to present 9 topics. 1. Experience. 2. The interaction with the members. 3. The culture of the guild. 4. Gear. 5. Gender. 6. Solving guild issues. 7. Creativity. 8. Ruleset. And number 9. The choice of the admins. These are some key components when it comes to running a guild. And so this would be very helpful to answering my question of what is the perfect guildmaster? So, to start off this journey, I set out to find guildmasters. I started by checking the board and looking for some I can hop into a call with. Soon, I was able to find a handful of well-known guildmasters, and so the journey commenced.
Hello. I am, for several years now, the GM of League of Cookies, or just LOC. I main Rune Master, have since 2005, same year that I discovered and started playing Elsword, with the IGN Runevra, a little combination of 2 Latin words that I looked up years ago, and as a result, I can't remember what they were. But I've stuck with the name ever since.
Uh, I'm known as Broken Shion on Elsword, but most people just call me Shion or Broken for short. But I usually prefer people to call me Shion. Uh, yeah. I'm mostly just known on Elsword.
Alright, and what
That's
is your
about it.
guild?
Uh, my guild name is Miyazaki. I think I made it back in like 2017, in a couple years.
My name is Telesia, but I go by Pandora as well. I'm known by those 2 names. I am Zodiac Prince in Elsword, the GM of Forge, actually. So pretty much a Noah main, mainly, with a bunch of crackhead friends that run a guild.
Experience is something that may benefit anyone regarding whatever it is that they pursue. As for this case, I believe that experience can have a major impact on a guildmaster's way of running a guild. With this in mind, I decided to ask some guildmasters their opinion on the subject. Here's how it went. So the first topic is experience. Do you think experience plays a part in being a guildmaster?
I do. Like, because being a guild master, it's not just managing stuff relating to the game. Like, are we going to do a PvP event, or are we going to manage the resources in the guild chest, stuff like that. It's a social group.
Just overall confidence in knowing what you're doing and being able to handle different kind of situations that goes on in your guild, such as like drama or just overall knowing like how to play the game, so that if anyone has any questions, they'll feel comfortable coming to you and asking you without feeling like they're a bother, which most people already feel like they're a bother asking in general. So it's kind of hard to work around other people who are too shy to ask for help, and you don't also want to force them to, because then if you force them to, they don't really like, I don't know what's the word, but they just feel scared, like they're being a bother, and they don't bother like either like trying to progress in the game or
I had never like done anything like a guild master position before. I just kind of went into it blind and had to learn from there, which honestly it wasn't super hard. It just took some adjusting, like getting used to dealing with people as a guild master.
The way a guildmaster interacts with his guild can come in many different forms, and when talking to the guildmasters, I was interested in their perspectives they had towards the topic. This is their perspectives. How do you think their interaction plays a part? Like the interaction with your members, with the guild functions, like from your experience, how do you think interaction plays a part in being a guildmaster?
A huge role. Because it's like, if you're GM or if you're an admin, if you're interacting with your guild a lot, it shows the players who are joining or coming back that there's community there, and it's a community that works together and communicates. As much as people probably don't understand, talking to your players, no matter if they're big or small, means a lot more to players who are starting out or returning and everything, because it just means they have a way of like getting help, but also like it shows that you're good enough, like you're a good leader, that you don't mind like stepping in and like chatting.
I mean, I just kind of treated guildmates like friends. If we would just do guild stuff together, as opposed to having to do it for the guild. It just ended up kind of growing into like a friend group, if anything.
When people join a group, and the GM is someone that shows up once in a while, but is noticeably hard to reach on some days, or just seems to go extended periods of time where they don't say anything or do anything, kind of makes them question, is that indicative of this group as a whole pretty much just either being dead or on its way to being dead? And for me, it's always put thoughts in my head of like, if this guy is so uninterested, maybe it's time for someone else to become the guild master. And it's like, if you've done something to give people that impression, then that's a sign that things aren't going well.
Look behind you, made you look. A looked again, made you look. Look again, made you look.
What's he doing?
Wait, is T just dying? How is he dying? Hey, yo! As guildmasters differ in each other, one is to assume that guilds also differ. With this in mind, I wanted to know how the culture of one's guild can play a role in its development.
Said every guild has its own culture, its own vibe, its own attitude. And I think the GM, whomever ends up getting it, needs to personally click with that kind of culture. So in my case, I really enjoy a nice, cozy group of people who chat and hang out online. They play games with each other. I don't like the uber tier hardcore kind of attitude that almost turns the game into a business, and they prioritize that before even so much as just saying a nice friendly good morning to each other when you get out of bed and boot up Discord.
Okay, the weird culture, I guess, is like we're crackheads. Yes, that is mainly the energy, but we're consistently always helping everybody, and it's mostly just a really chill place. As much as we do let people vent off and on to a point if they need, but more or less it's just a bunch of. Right now, I'm just looking at my phone right now. It's just being a bunch of emojis of two of my admins just fighting each other in chats. And I love it. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Within Elsword, as you advance through the game, the requirements of the gear needed also advances. I wanted to know how significant gear would be as a guildmaster.
As a guildmaster, do you think gear plays a role in being a guildmaster at all?
Not really. Like I did end up having like a strong character, but there were quite a few people who had way better gear than me. That were just in the guild just because it was a chill guild. Like obviously, as a guild master, you want to like have some, like at least have like good experience with the game, know what you're doing, be able to do pretty like end game stuff like raids and stuff, being able to establish teams and like teach people how to play stuff like that, but. In terms of actual gear, I don't think it's as big of an issue as experience is.
For me, it made newer players want to stay longer because they were able to get carried into late game content. So then by that time, they would have an understanding of what they need to do to like progress a little bit further. Because honestly, in this game right now, I think progression out of any other game right now is easy compared to knowing what you need to do and like understanding like stats. Compared to any other game is honestly quite simple. Because there's like a community that offers like a whole bunch of not like a whole bunch of spreadsheets, but like the spreadsheets are easy to understand. But I understand for newer players that they didn't want to read that shit.
Now, for some, this may be a strange topic to discuss. However, I am willing to go the extra mile in my search for what is the perfect guildmaster. I do believe different genders deal with different situations, and for my answer, I needed different perspectives on the matter.
Do you think gender plays a role in being a guildmaster? Do you think that as a man that you are put into this position and you are better suited because of your gender? What does that make you think like when you hear gender when it comes to being a guildmaster?
I actually don't find that topic come up a lot because, well, I know the argument of what the gender being in the position is still something that we encounter nowadays. I don't see it happen as much online, or at least over things like guilds. I very rarely see gender pointed out as a factor in anything in this community. I've seen almost everything else pointed out as a factor, but not the gender, at least. They, like, I've seen guild masters that were women, guild masters that were guys, and it never seemed to make a difference. I feel like when you're communicating over the internet, you're looking at GIFs and emotes and original usernames and profile pics, and you're playing a game where a big burly man with a beard and mustache is probably playing as Aisha dancing around her little tutu, making that cute high-pitched noise, or vice versa. Yeah, it might have some small delicate-looking young lady, and she's walking around with Raven, his ripped muscles beating the snot out of her. Like, you don't. It kind of removes you from observing the gender of the other person, because everything is different, and therefore everything is the same. So you don't stop and notice gender. That's the way I look at it.
My guild is actually ran by all females, and it's as cracked out energy as if I was in one of my brother's guilds, who was a bunch of guys. So genuinely, if gender plays a part of it, no. Your personality plays a part in it.
In my terms of experience with other guilds, like joining other guilds with like alternate characters or whatever, just seeing how people are, it doesn't really seem like there's much of a difference in terms of gender. I've had a pretty equal amount of men and women guild masters that all run their guild pretty well.
Running a guild comes with its fair share of problems. As a guildmaster, I believe that it is necessary to prepare and handle those problems. I wanted to know how each guildmaster goes about solving issues within their guild.
Do you think that the best way to go when about solving guild issues is to be like direct and like stop it quickly, or like do you want to like wait it out and see what happens? How do you think?
First off, you need to address the issue. For me, my kind of approach is kind of like I'll sit with them one-on-one and try to get both sides of the story and try to explain if there was like any misunderstanding, try to clear it up, and maybe we could be friends again and just vibe. But if it comes to the point where like it's a constant issue, or like for me now it's kind of like we'll try to deal with it like the first like 3 times, but like if it starts to like get to the point where like even now I'm annoyed, so like after like the 4th time I'm done, like I'm just banning you or kicking you out. Like it's just gonna be that direct, like not even direct, it's yeah, that's pretty direct. Like
yeah,
I trust my moderators to make judgment calls when things happen when I'm not there. Usually I let them converse amongst themselves, and then whenever they come to a deliberation, one of them will feed it to me so that I can make a final decision.
I think it's important to tell yourself you're never going to be able to solve everything, or at the very least, you're not always going to be able to end things on the nicest conclusion, because there are some problems that are beyond your control. Like I mentioned earlier, that most drama in the guild has not had as much to do with Elsword as it did with personal things, like arguments between two, ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, or somebody getting into political arguments. And your job is to moderate that. And usually that's done by, at least for me, pulling people into a group chat or DMing them individually to find out what happened and offering a compromise. It's never fun. Even when you've got experience with it, it's always the part of the experience I dread the most. Just because of how heavy the outcome can become, depending on how things go. And you have to do what feels right. You have to go with common sense. You have to be logical. remember everything that's happened to you before and learn from that if applicable. And if you don't have that luxury and you're kind of just winging it based on what seems like the right choice, what's the right thing to say to these two people who are in the middle of an argument, do I ban this person, do I time this person out? There's always a chance that you'll make a decision, and in hindsight you'll think that if you did this instead, if you did X instead of Y for a choice, it could have turned out better. But it's not like you didn't try to figure that out at the time, because like they say, hindsight's always 20/20.
Red light.
Crisscross applesauce. Yeah.
Within my own guild, I have created many events and obtained a multitude of art. I am really fond of creative thinking and wanted insight on how significant would creativity play a part within a guild.
We would do things like hide and seek. Like I'd pick a map and an area and a server, and then give people hints as to where I was, and then they'd race to come find me for a prize. Just stuff like that. I tried to think of like some sparring mini games to do, but I was never really good at like PvP based stuff in the game, so anything I was able to think of to play with the guild was kind of dungeon based. I did have one mini game that I played with the guildies that they seemed to like. It was a farming race. I would basically set up a time for the race to start, and then when the race starts, I would give them a list of dungeon drops, like from bosses and stuff. And if they, in either by themselves for a full prize or in a group that they can split the prize in, they can go race the dungeon, farm as fast as they can to see who can get one of the drops on the list first, and that would effectively be the finish line. A lot of my guild members like that one.
Creativity. Well, it's more of the energy as well. Creativity can bounce back and forth a lot easier in the community. Mine's full of a bunch of artists as well, as such as myself. But differentiality is perfectly fine and normal, and no place is going to be the same. But like at the same time, it means it'll be when people come in that they can find what they're looking for or what they were like wanting out of like a quote unquote home.
With unique events to give people an excuse to partake in either something that has them doing something unique in the game or just an event on Discord. That can make a lot of difference. I think a lot of people may look forward to being in a guild if it's got a rep for always coming up with new and creative events.
Every guild has its own unique rule set. Rule sets are used to maintain order and keep things running smooth. I took interest in hearing rule sets from other guild masters, and this is what they have to say.
I mean, our guild was pretty chill for the most part. We didn't have any like strict rules. It was mostly just don't be a jerk. Don't do anything that's like actually like against the game's TOS or anything like that. Just pretty basic things. Basically, as long as you weren't doing something that was actively bad, then we were pretty cool with whoever joined.
Oh yeah. I mean, like with any social group, a good refined rule set is very important. People have often complimented the guild for having organized rules that are clear and that are very coherent. I think it's also important. You need so part of it is you lay down the rules that are the obvious things, Don't be a jerk to other people. No spamming, no anything like that. The obvious stuff. But you also need to consider what kind of a guild you're being. This goes back to maintaining a proper culture. So, for example, in LOC, we have what we kind of treat as guild pillars, which are kind of like rules, but they're also just principles that we go by. And this is stuff I came up with years ago after all of that raid drama I talked about earlier, where we got a bunch of whales and toxic elitists in here. And those pillars are more so to ask people to show respect to others in regards to things like don't shame someone because they don't have as much gear as you do, or don't give someone grief because maybe they don't take a part of the game as seriously as you do. Because we're supposed to be a casual family-like guild. So we play the game however we want to play it and enjoy it. And we don't give each other a hard time for it, because we're here to, join each other in that endeavor and also just keep each other company as we do it. Which is something you'd expect out of a more family-like guild.
Admins. Admins, I believe, are the people who are the guildmaster's most trusted individuals. These people go the extra mile for the guild and willfully hold responsibility for the guild. A guildmaster entrusts his guild in the safe care of these individuals, and with that being said, I wanted to know how the guildmasters go about selecting an admin.
How do you think the choosing of admins plays a role into being a guildmaster?
Trust, respect for each other. It has to go both ways. Trust and respect for each other, communication, if you can communicate with your admins, even one-on-one with any one of them. It means a lot, and especially if there's times, because I know we all have this with real life stuff, stepping out, and we have to take a break, that you can come back, or that they can communicate things with you. Off to the side, being like, hey, I know you're away and stuff, but there's some stuff going on in the guild. Do you think and they I have my admins if I'm away, because there's times I've taken trips. They'll send me screenshots of stuff that's going on, and I'll try to handle the situation from my end, but also relay them what they should be doing, instead of undermining and immediately assuming that this. But it's also fine if it's more of they know the rules and being like, hey, that's not cool. I know you shouldn't be doing that.
How do you determine if somebody is worthy of being an admin?
For me, because this is a family-like guild, you want officers and admins that represent the same attitude. So I look for people who are mature enough to handle it when they're called upon to moderate fights between people. So you obviously don't want to pick somebody who typically likes to get involved in those conversations in the main chats when they happen, because they just get a kick out of it. You get people that are, sociable, friendly, and active, of course. I know I mentioned earlier that the GM should be active, but having an active GM but all dead admins isn't the best look for a guild still. So
we weren't supposed to come up with something this clean. Something happened.
How do you think the choice of admins play a role into a guild?
For my team, I like to have moderators that are pretty non-biased for things, that are going strictly by how they think the rules are interpreted, but are not super strict on them. basically the way that you would imagine like a judge or a jury in real life, just like a non-partial group of people that you can trust with managing outside of when you're not able to participate in stuff, like when you're working or sleeping. You definitely want to have people that have a schedule that you can work alongside, and a group of people that aren't gonna abuse their powers.
Over the course of this journey, I've met a lot of new people and I learned a lot on what it means to be a guildmaster. Now for the question of what is the perfect guildmaster? Well, I'd say me! Well, jokes aside, as I searched, I gained many different definitions and many people said that one doesn't exist. Now I'd say that no matter what, it's never bad to strive for perfection. I had a very pleasant time connecting and conversing with many different guildmasters. I really enjoyed this game because of that. And on that note, thank you guys for watching. I am xPrinceKillu from the Guild NBK. I'd like to dedicate this time to appreciate all the guildmasters that work hard to keep a community in this game. I want to give a dedicated shout out to Legacy, Runa, Pandora, Broken Shion, and their respective guilds. I may not be playing Elsword in the coming future anymore, but if I could go back in time, I would do it all over again. With that being said, again, thank you guys for watching, and here are some quotes from respective guildmasters.